us from Data4Change, the Paris 21 Foundation, and together with my team and the wonderful colleagues from BongoHive and Ubuntu AI, we have been counting down to today to this dialogue. What is a dialogue, first of all? I looked at the definition of dialogue and found the following. It's a conversation between two or more persons. And this definition has just recently been augmented by a similar exchange between a person and something else, such as a computer. This is a perfect example of how we are currently rewiring and redefining our world. And we are here today to ensure that we do it the right way, including everyone in this new reality. We are very delighted to have such a diverse group of participants joining us virtually today, from researchers to IT developers to entrepreneurs and policymakers. Please feel free to use the chat to introduce yourselves and to connect with others if you wish. A few housekeeping rules before we start. You should already see on the screen that this event is being not only recorded, but also streamed. The discussion will feed into our ongoing ecosystem mapping exercise, which will ultimately result in a report that we'll be publishing together. So please keep that in mind as you share your insights. You heard it just now, we would like to use the collective intelligence and experience for our report. We have 2 hours today with space for questions and answers towards the end. And again, use the chat actively to introduce yourself, share experiences, and post questions. Before I present the organizations behind today's event, we are grateful for the endorsement of the University of Zambia, our academic partner. We are especially pleased also to welcome Dr. Nikki Potts from the UK Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO, who will deliver our keynote later. And of course, a warm welcome to our case study presenters and AI and local language experts, Daniel Kasonde, Victor Neen, and Tariro Munzwa. And here we go, introducing the organizations. We'll be starting the way it is not supposed to be, usually being humble, but we'll be starting with Data4Change today, the organization that I'm representing. Data4Change is called the Paris 21 Foundation because we are part of a wider network, the Partnership for Statistics and Development in the 21st Century, Paris 21. We are a nonprofit organization based in Geneva, and we incubate and accelerate bold data projects with governments, citizens, and companies. When we say data, we actually speak of trusted data, official statistics. As part of this wider network, the mission is to work with national statistical systems in the so-called Global South. And our vision is a world where all societies leverage human-centered data for sustainable development. As I mentioned, originally working with governments and national statistical offices, now Data4Change is on the ground in Zambia, working in the field of SME data to close data gaps and also to find innovative ways to provide trusted data for the circular economy. And through partnerships like the one right here, we aim to strengthen local ecosystems, amplify African innovation, and bridge local and global conversations. And the partners today, we can go to the next slide, Ubuntu AI. Ubuntu AI has been around for a while, since 2018 already. If you're wondering now, why haven't I seen Ubuntu AI even before COVID? It's because it was established in 2018 as Zambia in AI community and rebranded in 2022 to Ubuntu AI. As Ubuntu says, it's a grassroots, volunteer-driven, non-profit organization building Zambia's AI ecosystem. They connect industry, academia, and the wider community with a focus on inclusivity, diversity, and accessibility of AI. So no wonder Ubuntu AI was also core in working towards the recently launched National AI Strategy. The mission is to demystify AI and data science, making the fields approachable for all and empowering individuals, especially women. I'm looking at Pendo here, to drive innovation and lasting impact. Great to have you today, and very great to work together in this endeavor. We also have BongoHive behind this event, and yeah, BongoHive has been around for a while, but BongoHive is growing and diversifying. For those who don't know BongoHive, it's Zambia's first technology and innovation hub and one of Africa's most vibrant startup ecosystems. Out of BongoHive, the AI lab was born, and through the lab established in 2025, and Muya, I think you're still showing the Ubuntu AI community one. So we can go to the BongoHive AI lab. Well, then you have to follow my words closely, and we'll be hearing from Mapalo, who's heading the lab, who'll be showing some of the insights. The lab has been created in 2025, focusing on industry solutions, mainly agriculture, finance, and healthcare. So the overlapping or the synergies of AI in agriculture, finance, and healthcare. Research and innovation for African context, and of course, building AI talent as the current AI strategy claims it. So training the next generation of AI professionals in Africa. Over the next 5 years, the BongoHive AI Lab has set ambitious goals, train more than 1,000 startups, deploy more than 30 AI solutions, and expand partnerships across Africa. Today's event is about mapping the local language AI ecosystem in Zambia. We have already collected some data from you. We have received more than 100 answers for our event survey. And it's about identifying both challenges such as data scarcity, standardization, inclusivity, and opportunities, new research, open data sets, or community solutions. We want to walk away not just with a snapshot of where we stand, but with concrete ideas to carry into the future. You will hear back from me towards the end, giving some announcement of where we're going. But now let me first hand over to Mapalo with the results from the survey. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for the opportunity. Will you just try going one step back? Okay, thank you. I was going to ask you to bring a slide that I know I added there, but not a problem. I'll just share my screen. Give me a bit of time to share. Sorry, can I stop just a moment? Apologies. So I'm just going to be sharing a minute. I just want to ensure that my screen is in the right share mode. All right, getting there. Just let me know once you can see my screen.
Yes, it's there now.
All right, perfect. So again, welcome to everyone. And I'm just going to go through this in just about 9 minutes so that we can be able to understand the particular trends that we're already seeing, as we go into this discussion around our AI languages, our AI for Zambia languages. So we did a bit of an analysis on the registration survey. If you may remember, you may have been asked certain questions to be able to just prompt our understanding of the current landscape to some degree and know what we are working with. So it will be important for all of us to just appreciate some of those statistics. So when this analysis was taken, we had about 106 survey respondents at the time, and 38 people declared that they were actively working on a project that's tied to AI languages for Zambia, right? And that's an interesting statistic, meaning that there's a lot of people who are also registered that are also interested in just being involved in this space. There were 43 unique languages that people mentioned that they were interested to work with or are currently working on. And we also saw that most of the people that responded or showed interest to this particular dialogue came from Lusaka, dominating with about 68 responses. We saw Kawe and Kitwe going at second with about 6 across 6 of each across, and there are also 23 other unique locations. I'll be able to show you, as you can see at the bottom here, this was the statistics. So we saw Chingola come after Kawe and Kitwe. We had Solwezi, we had different other spaces here that were very useful in terms of the number of people that responded. Chinsali, Teji. So we saw representation from these spaces. Of the different languages that our beloved country has, we saw that Bemba was mentioned and was leading about with 29 mentions. We saw Nyanja with about 21, Tonga with about 14, Lozi with about 9, and Lubale with about 5 mentions. For the organizational mix when it comes to the people that are interested in this space on the score, we saw academia topping that chart with about 28 people from academia, about 20 from the startup world, representing the core active groups. As can be seen in our bar chart on the right here, we see that there was a number of people in different other spaces. We see that collectively academia and startups seem to be very interested in this topic already from the get-go. Moving on to our next slide, just allow me to ensure that my slides are moving. All right, perfect. So some of the key observations that we had or witnessed and the insights is that the early stage concentrated and language clustered results look this way. Obviously, the geographical concentration was Lusaka centric, with Copperbelt showing a smaller but clear cluster in Kitwe and Chingola. We're also able to see that many people are not yet developing models at this stage, as most of the projects are either at initiation or just the execution just began stage. We also noticed that the prioritization, again, this is a bit of a repetition, was Bemba, Nyanja, Tonga, which account for the most planned work. So most people here feel these are the languages that are currently being prioritized to go first in terms of their utilization in AI, whether this is for automated speech recognition, large language model, fine-tuning for chatbots, since this is where the interest was. So it suggests that a natural phase one focus is set whilst keeping a roadmap for the remaining 30 plus languages that people mentioned out of the 40. Moving on, we also noticed that there was a mix of methods and approaches. We were able to identify that a couple of people are interested in working on integrating Zambian local languages in their chatbots. We also saw natural language processing, tokenization, morphology. We saw corpus data collection coming in next, machine translation. We saw automated speech recognition also coming in, and also those little mentions across the other areas of approaches. So what we noticed from the corpus data collection and what we can have as an insight is that fundamental work on building language data sets and annotated corporal training and evaluation has already begun for most people. We noticed that large language model implementations and conversational AI systems for local languages seem to be a focus for a lot of startups. We saw a lot of natural language processing, tokenization, morphology interest in terms of processing and building blocks, and also machine translation. That's obviously automated translation systems between Zambian languages and English. So people are working on technologies in this space. So just kind of, I'm getting some feedback. All right, hopefully people are muted. Let me just rush through this and the remaining time. So when it came to critical challenges people are facing, we saw funding crisis as a huge blocker, followed by data scarcity as a critical gap. Many people believe that there's a huge gap in the data available to be able to build these particular solutions or be able to fine tune existing large language models. Standardization issues came in third, and compute and tooling was mentioned a little bit less than the others. And we can see that there's also the reason why people feel funding and resources are a challenge is that there's an overwhelming primary barrier preventing progress across virtually all initiatives. So this needs to be dealt with. With data scarcity, that limited availability of quality data in Zambian languages, particularly for training models, modern AI systems, and requiring substantial data sets, that's a real issue at the moment. the orthography and standardization as well. So the complex challenges around this is dialect, spelling conventions, and obviously the diacritics that will significantly impact evaluation and deployment if left unmanaged. Moving on, strategic insight here is that compute and tooling were mentioned a little bit less frequency than expected, but likely because most projects haven't yet reached training heavy phases yet. So we're hoping that after this conversation, people will be more steered up to go into more training of their data sets. Lastly, let me just look at the collaboration appetite. So overall, there's a strong foundation for growth. There's a strong appetite with a lot of willingness for partnership amongst the people that responded. So 75 respondents are willing to join follow-up initiatives, demonstrating genuine commitment to collaborative efforts. And we'll mention more about some follow-up activities. Strong community engagement was seen with significant interest in research and partnerships. Skill development appetite, strong interest in model development workshops and capacity building initiatives. So we hope that this all helps us be able to forge ahead and make sure that this survey does not only reveal to us the current activity, but the tremendous untapped potential. Thank you for your time. Hopefully this helps you be able to understand where we are today. Over to the moderator.
Thank you very much, Mapalo. Very insightful. I can't wait for the report to be published. And definitely some Tonga AI would definitely help me to communicate better. I'm very excited to now hand over to look at some of the examples of the ones that have already pioneered in that space, showcasing African local language AI initiatives. Muya, are you ready to show our great speakers and introduce them?
Thank you so much, Hannah. So today we have three amazing speakers lined up for you to showcase the work that they're doing in AI. Up first, we have David Kasonde, who is an Lusaka-based AI researcher and developer, and he has successfully implemented translational models supporting all the 7 official languages in Zambia, enabling them to translate across these languages and between them and English. Before I take away his shine, I'm going to allow him to introduce himself and tell you more about his work whilst I beam his presentation. Over to you, Daniel.
Daniel, kindly unmute yourself and just begin to speak. Kindly be cognizant of time. We only have about 5 minutes for you.
It seems that Daniel has not joined the call yet, so we'll move on to the next speaker. So our next speaker is a PhD candidate and researcher on neural machine translations. So I'll let Victor Nin do the introduction of his work and what he does, and let him take the stage. Victor, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so my name is Victor Nene. I'm a researcher, and I'm currently focusing on domain adaptation for neural machine translation in raw resource languages. So basically, I'm focusing on developing strategies to adapt general purpose translation models, as you might be aware. most of the work that is being done, the data is general purpose. So I'm focusing on translation models to specialize domains, and I'm particularly focusing on health promotion. So basically, I'm working on domain adaptive translation, like I've said, and I'm focusing on the Bemba language. Reason being that it is comparatively more available than other Zambian languages. Then I'm concentrating on health promotional texts. So far, what I've done is I've built a mobile app that I've used to curate a bilingual data set that is an English Bemba pair. And I've managed to curate about 5,000 sentences. So basically what I did, I engaged Bemba teachers in Wapura province of Zambia. As you might be aware, yes, it's Bemba is spoken in urban areas and in rural areas. But the fact is, in the rural areas, it has been, the original Bemba has been preserved compared to the Bemba that is spoken in towns. In towns, there's an element of code switching that has crept in. So that's why I had to go to a rural area so that the language can be preserved. So the project took about 3 months to complete because of the fact that it was complex and it required accuracy, as I was dealing with health-related information. So far, I'm carrying out some benchmarking, and the results are quite impressive. So let me just share the output from my translation models. Just give me a minute. To see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so what you are seeing are just preliminary results. That's an English to Bemba translation. And as you can see, in the English translation, in the English source, it reads bipolar disease is a lifelong illness. So you can actually see the Bemba translation equivalent. So for those that speak Bemba, I'm sure you can agree with me that the translation is quite deep and there's no code switching. Then I'm also benchmarking against existing translation models. So as you can see there, that's the equivalent translation that was done by Google. And I'm sure you can notice the differences. The other one is, let me just read, but quick treatment with the defibrillator may be life-saving. Again, those who understand Bemba, if you look at the translation, you can agree with me that it's quite deep and there's no code switching involved. So benchmarked against Google, you can see again the translation, and you can also do some kind of human evaluation and do the comparison. So let me just go back to my notes. So basically, the objectives of my projects first to create a domain-specific health promotional corpus for Bemba, then apply domain adaptation techniques to existing data sets and to translate models to improve the accuracy for Bemba. So I'm not only looking at domain adaptation, but also the aspect of accuracy. Then the third one is to develop a mobile app that can translate health promotional materials into Bemba. Then also to be able to evaluate the model using automatic and human evaluation by using a language experts. So the expected impact is at present, digital information is largely inaccessible in Zambian languages if we compare to high-resource languages. So this gap, it disproportionately affects rural communities and individuals that have
Thank you,
limited.
Victor, but your time is up. So
Okay,
I'll
thank you.
have you wind up and we'll have more questions for the model as soon as we are at the end of the webinar.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll ask you to stop sharing your screen. All right, thank you so much. So we have Kaz on the app. He has now joined us properly and he'll be able to share his presentation. So from here, I'm going to go and present the work that he is doing so far. You can take the floor, Daniel.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniel Kasonde. I am an AI researcher from Zambia. The work that I'm doing is about translating Zambian languages. Next slide. Is it okay if I can just share my own slides?
Yes, that will work.
I think that would be better. Okay. So, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniel Kasonde, and I'm an AI researcher from Zambia. Sharing this research about building AI and making it work in our local languages. You can see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So right now, I've managed to implement translation models that are capable of translating across the 7 official Zambian local languages plus English. This means that we are capable of translating from Bemba to Tonga, from Nyanja to Lozi, Luvale to Kaonde, or vice versa. I am also working on audio translation to help people use AI by speaking their local languages. I believe this will help make AI usable throughout the country because even people, regardless of their literacy levels, will be able to conversate with different systems. I believe the work that I'm doing is laying a foundation for the future of Zambian AI because most of the work is already available, but it's in English and other languages. So by us being able to translate those already existing data sets, we're capable of bringing benchmarks that are already existing out there, but just fine-tuning them for our local context. My vision is to build Zambia's first locally implemented large language model. This is not just about translation, it's about creating AI that reflects who we are. It's about creating AI that is inclusive in a sense that it speaks our languages, cultural because it understands our context, independent because it is controlled and built with us. We are the ones who are controlling the data and the models. My vision, I see the 7 Zambian local languages as a starting point, but eventually the goal is to incorporate all languages spoken in Zambia. The impact of my work spans across many sectors, but to mention a few, in education, AI tutors can teach mathematics or science in Lozi or any other language. Our mothers and grandmothers can access medical advice in local languages. In governance, the citizens of our country, Zambia, can access government services in their preferred local languages. And most importantly, our languages will not disappear online in this digital age. Our languages will be preserved. Our languages will become the basic building blocks of our country's technological growth. As much as we are making progress, we are facing some challenges. So one of the challenges we're facing is that our local languages, they live or exist in a state I can call data scarcity, in a sense that there are few resources that have been digitized. There has been a lot of work that has been done by the churches and a few other authors, but most of the resources have not yet been digitized. Furthermore, AI training requires heavy computation. There's a lot of heavy computation that is required and that is costly. Currently, we've been managing by renting infrastructure from global providers. That is expensive and sustainable, and it makes us dependent on them. Also, I would like to state that as much as we have a national AI framework, right now, the gap still exists in implementation. I feel there is a need to ensure that there is a digital equity, and there is also a need to ensure that we invest in local infrastructure if we truly want AI inclusivity and AI independence.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Your time is up.
My time is up. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
All right. That was Daniel with his amazing training model. Imagine 7 languages and being able to translate between different languages. That is very phenomenal. So for our last speaker, let me share my screen. Our last speaker is Teriro Munzwa. I hope I'm pronouncing that well. She is a full stack software engineer and a certified AI developer. So Teriro, you can take it from here. You have 5 minutes to present and take it up for me.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good day to everyone. My name is Tara Faith Munzwa. I am a software engineer at Dawa. So we're currently working on providing antenatal, postnatal, and cervical cancer healthcare services to underserved communities, the slum communities in Zambia. And we're doing this through technology. For example, we have an AI-powered multilingual chatbot, which currently supports 7 languages, 4 of which are Zambian languages, Tonga, Bemba, Lozi, and Nyanja. We're also providing these services through our foot soldiers, the clinicians and midwives which move into these slum communities to register expecting mothers on our platform. And the goal is to make verified information accessible to these underserved communities, through our chatbot. And as of date, we've managed to work with 14,000 mothers, which are on track to scale to up to about 30,000 by end of next year. The key challenges we have experienced as of date are, data challenges. I see one of the presenters has mentioned that the data sets are scarce generally, and we had to curate our own maternal text data sets we worked with a team of around 20 plus doctors to curate these data sets in local languages. And this took us a lot of time, which we would have, used instead to train and fine tune our model. And the other challenge we faced is we noticed that our chatbot is hallucinating, when the users use voice notes. Our chatbot also supports voice notes, but when the users use voice notes in their local languages, our chatbot is hallucinating because mainly we haven't trained it yet on, the local language voice notes. So it doesn't understand the local language nuances and also the accent. African languages have this strong accent. So the support moving forward would be maybe compute power. I see someone also mentioned compute power. We need a lot of compute power to train and fine-tune our models. Yeah, so I'll end here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Terero, for your presentation and letting us know the challenges that you are facing in this gallant effort to share, maternal health services. At this point, I'm going to hand over to our moderator for our next segment.
Great. Thank you so much, Muya, for guiding us through. Thank you, Tarira. Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Daniel. Great work, and thank you for sharing those challenges with us. I already see the chat is active, the community is working. Maybe some cross-pollination of ideas can help. We hear that, hallucination in local languages is a thing, and yes, it's true. I believe in many local Zambian languages, a lot is non-verbal communication, especially also the zing-zang, as we say, the noises, the sounds. I think that's something very challenging to portray in large language models. What else is there? What else do we prioritize in this big discourse? What else do we find challenging? Well, according to the Zambian National AI Strategy, the priority issues are health service delivery, agriculture productivity, and education equality. Maybe for you it's the same, maybe you disagree. We will find out together. Belen, would you be able to share the screen? And I will be asking everyone to take.
Sure. Let me know if
using
we
your
can
camera,
see the
because
screen.
going to our interactive session. Let's see. There we go. Okay, Belen, that means I'm handing over to you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. After sharing these amazing experiences by our participants, now we want to engage with you and ask you some questions, ask you some of your point of views, and have a bit of an interactive session with you now. So we would invite you to join a Mentimeter. This is a platform used to share opinions in audiences. I am sending a link to the chat as well. So you can join the Mentimeter by accessing menti.com and accessing the code just here on top. It's 72 74 79 28. Once we join, we would encourage you to share with us first your answer to this question. Which area do you think will benefit the most from AI in local languages in Zambia? Oh, we are having some answers now. We will wait for more people to join, please. Let's have more of a variety of opinions. This is going to be very interesting. Okay, of course, the one that's stopping now is education because of literacy translation tools, student access. Oh, now business SME benefits is also rising. Mm. All of them got a vote, which is very interesting as well. And I think that also reflects that AI could benefit overall all of these dimensions that range from education, health, business, governance, or culture. But for sure, I think that in this audience, we're seeing a clear benefit for education and business. Yes, this is great. We're having more participants joining, which is amazing. Nice. So I think we are ready to go to the next question we have for you. Oh no, we're not ready to go to the next question. I think this is still moving. We're still having more participants join. And now SME and business is stopping because of course I think we've already heard like there's this benefit that can be get from the use of AI in customer service, market access, also inclusion. I think some of these would be overlapping with which is not only natural, but at the same time, this can lead us to think about possible future partnerships or ideas for innovation and so on. Okay, so now we're going to the next question. How do you feel about the following statements? AI can only succeed in Zambia if it supports our local languages. Data scarcity is the biggest barrier to building AI models for local languages. Commercial tech companies are best placed to lead on AI for local languages in Africa. AI in local languages could create more inequality than it solves if it's not done carefully. Community-driven data collection is more important than importing global AI solutions. We would encourage you to select from strongly disagree to strongly agree. It's a range of questions, so you can move around your questions from the left to right, selecting which you think applies better for you in your point of view. Yes, we're seeing some variety here, some diversity in answers, which is very interesting. I think it's very enlightening as well. It leads to some reflection. This is very, very interesting. We're having some mixed opinions here, which is great because we want to encourage conversation and dialogue around the AI. I think that overall it's a very new topic that we're trying to lead on, and we are not necessarily having all the answers, but rather opening spaces for conversations so that we can have a look in the future on how this scenario would look like. Great. So we are having some diversity. Yes, of course. I think maybe we would open up later during the discussion, maybe on a moment to discuss openly about why this is it. Just for an example, AI can only succeed in Zambia if it supports our local languages. We're having an overall medianly agree opinion from the participants today. What does it mean? Why did some people mark, for example, strongly disagree? I think if you can leave your opinions on the chat, that would also be great. I think that this question, what it wants to raise as a topic of discussion is the relevance of local languages. Maybe the only succeed part of it would raise maybe a little bit of doubt or suspicion. Maybe we are trying to focus also on local languages, which is a challenge, acknowledging the challenge that it poses on every one of us or like a society in general, like going counter the current of mainly an English-led environment for AI solutions. I think maybe it's one of the reasons why, but please let us know your comments in the chat as well. This is so very interesting, and of course we'd like to go deep into this later on. For the third question, for example, commercial tech companies are best placed to lead on AI for local languages in Africa. Maybe also linking it with a question before, where we also thought that maybe the education sector would be the one to lead, or maybe not maybe it would be the government. Like maybe it's a mix of everyone, which is very interesting as well. We have a variety of options and answers here. And now to the next question. What are the biggest challenges you perceive in developing AI for Zambian languages, for local Zambian languages? Here we ask you to give us in a few words, in 1, 2, 3 words, what would you think is the biggest challenge that you perceive from your industry? I know that we have people here that have registered from the education sector, from the SME and business sector, also from government. So please let us know here as freely as you can. What would you think is the biggest challenge? You can just write it down. Data scarcity, translating local languages to domain-specific models, non-coordinated efforts, compute power, knowledge on which data is needed from users, scarcity of data sets and financial resources. We are seeing some patterns now, like we are seeing 2, 3 times mentioned data scarcity, and compute resources as well, infrastructure, coordination. Wow, this is great. We're getting so many responses and answers. Skills gap, lack of technical knowledge, magnitude and quality of data being used. Data sources may be a challenge to bring together. Yes. So we're seeing for sure some patterns. And the reason why we wanted to ask you the challenges is because from the challenge is that we can lead on and have, this is like a brainstorm, a really valuable brainstorm we're having today with people working on the field or very interested to work on develop solutions on the field, which is great because we can create these patterns that will lead us to solutions. Yes. Amazing. And with that, we would close the Mentimeter. Thank you all for your participation. Also, we wanted to have a little bit of interaction so that we see that this community is alive, because this solution, this topic on AI local languages is alive as ever. So this is a topic that still maybe doesn't have a clear solution or path yet, but it's something that we are working on together, and we are having a discussion, an open discussion today. Well, and back to Hannah. I will stop sharing my screen.
Great. Thank you so much, Belen. You might still be able to submit some more challenges on this mapping wall. I saw there are a few people connected that had not yet submitted. So please feel free. We will use those challenges to turn them into opportunities. And to summarize just this activity, we saw the head race between education and business and SME as the major priorities mentioned. When it comes to the challenges, we've seen data, but also infrastructure and investment, and not only lack of data, but data siloing. And I was very delighted to see that there is already from the UK side some funding and some infrastructure set up in Zambia called the Zambia Evidence Lab, which is done in partnership with the Ministry for Tech and Science and hosted at, I believe it's WeWorks Bishops Road. Africa Works Bishops Road, and they have a great paper on administrative data and also identified a lot of data siloing in Zambia. So I've shared the resource in the chat, and I see a lot of research and leads to follow up are being shared in the chat. Now, we have collected your challenges and assessed your priorities. We would now like to also hear the voice from somebody who actually represents an institution that invests in the solutions, the FCDO, the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. And we have Nikki Potts here with us today. Hi, Nikki. How are you, first of all?
Hi, sorry, I'm having some challenges. I can either show you my really messy room or not my face. So I think we'll go with you can see my messy room. Apologies there.
No worries. We are very happy to have you here. Thank you for making the time. For everyone who doesn't have the pleasure, as I do, to know Nikki already, Dr. Nikki Potts is the lead advisor on the FCDO Data for Development portfolio. She began her career as a planetary scientist in academia before moving into government sector as a data scientist, so an expert in the field as well. Her data science expertise was incorporating geospatial data with machine learning techniques to improve the government sector, nationally and internationally, with a focus on improving the timeliness and accessibility of data to support decision makers. Nikki now uses her experience to support international and national data systems to be a stronger enabler for modern development objectives. We've already heard the aspect of accessibility in your bio, so it was no surprise that you are very passionate about the topic today. And once more, thank you and welcome. Handing over to you, Nikki.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hannah. And thank you to all of the organisers for inviting me to today's session. It's already been really fascinating. And yeah, that Mentimeter, hearing some of the challenges, hearing some of your insights, really, really interesting for me. And hopefully what I'm going to say is going to speak to a bit of that as well. So as Hannah was saying, as someone who started as a scientist in academia, then moved into government data science, I have spent my career living and breathing data. And that means I can often take it for granted that everyone understands the importance of data. You know, listening to everyone in the session so far today, it's clear that you already know why data matters, but I still think it's really helpful to frame what I'm going to say, to start by saying better data means better informed decision making. When we know where people are, we can make sure they have access to provisions. When we know who our people are, we can make those provisions inclusive. When disaster hits, knowing that what the disaster is, where will be impacted, and then who are at greatest risk means that we can reduce the impact of some of these disasters. And when we know how much things cost, we can plan accordingly. We can make the most of the resources available. Data is fundamental for better informed decision making, but often the data that's needed isn't available. We know that there is a gap between low and low middle income countries with higher income countries, and that's in terms of the access, the accessibility, the use, the infrastructure and capacity for data. And while this gap has been narrowing, it's not enough. AI is a real opportunity to shift the dial on the data gap. But this can go both ways. And I think that this is something that some of you saw as well in the Mentimeter, that there is a risk that as high-income countries begin to develop and adopt AI into their national statistical systems, low and low middle-income countries can become left behind. And this will happen when we don't ensure that people with different cultural and socioeconomic backgrounds are equally represented and enabled to participate throughout the entire data and AI value chain. That means we have to make sure that AI is inclusive. And that is exactly what you're all working on today. The other side of this is that AI is an opportunity. It is an opportunity to accelerate the narrowing of the data gap in ways that we previously couldn't have even imagined. Rather than trying to reinvent the national statistical system wheel, we can actually jump ahead to national statistical systems of the future. And that's by using technology or models and advancements that we couldn't have even dreamt about 5 years ago, 2 years ago, I mean, maybe even today. Right now, the possibilities and opportunities that AI could bring, they feel endless. It is such an exciting moment of time to be where we are. You know, we really are at an opportunity, a moment in time where we all get to contribute to building something up from the foundations. We're not dealing with legacy issues. And if any of you have had to, I don't know, work in government or do something in MATLAB or anything like that, you'll know what I mean in terms of like trying to make old methods apply to modern problems. You know, that can be really frustrating in terms of like trying to move things forward. We're actually the ones now that are going to be creating the legacy issues for the future generation because, let's be honest, nothing is ever perfect. But I kind of joke a little bit because really, I just can't express this enough that what a moment in time that we all get to be here. We're all sat at the tables that we're sat at. We're all doing the work that we're doing to be able to build this exciting new future where we use AI for good, but also what a huge responsibility to collectively ensure that we get this right. And this, I think, comes back to that point of this could go both ways. There's a real opportunity, but there's also a real risk. And, you know, it's that last point about that collective responsibility to getting things right that makes sessions like today so important. It's really important that we don't work in silos, that we all come together, that we use our expertise, and we think about ways in which we can build a system that is based on the principles of data or AI for good. And I just wanted to touch on two things that I see as essential for AI for good. I mean, there's probably lots and lots of things, but I thought that I would try not to talk too much here. So the first of this is the quality of what goes into AI models. You know, rubbish in, rubbish out, black box models that lack any transparency and at times credibility, and then also data sovereignty. When people want to talk about AI, they very often don't want to talk about data governance, which I find very upsetting. But without good data governance, we can't have good or meaningful AI. At FCDO, we are proud to be an active voice in international forums where the principles of global data governance are being set. We can help set principles that are essential for ensuring that AI delivers real value for everyone. And this means ensuring equal representation throughout data and AI value chains, that people have control over their data, and that they're in a position to exercise their ownership rights. Prioritizing open, high-quality data sets in local languages is essential for ensuring that AI delivers real value for everyone. And I want to say this again, the work that you are doing is essential for ensuring that AI delivers real value for everyone. I know that this probably feels like you are doing small parts of the puzzle, but to really bring this into the bigger picture, you know, we have to find ways that provide access to the respect of local ownership, of data that still drive innovation through research and development with sight of safeguarding against misuse or exclusion of populations. And none of this is a small problem. You know, these are big challenges that are being thought about at the highest international levels, because we want to make sure that we leverage that possibility and opportunity in AI to really accelerate development. And something that we talk about in the work that I do is about accelerating progress towards sustainable development goals, about helping countries grow their economies, reach modern development objectives. AI is going to be such a useful tool to get us there, and hopefully it's going to do it in a more inclusive way than what we've currently been experiencing. But we really have to come out to be able to find solutions to some of these pain points. My second essential point for AI for good is about local representation and how we bring that to life. So, you know, as I've pointed to at FCDO, we can put words on paper, we can talk about the policy of AI, we can get together with other investors to think about how we shape the international system. But really, it's yourselves that bring that to life. And this is where I really want to take a moment to just celebrate all of you. Just by being here in this room together, you are pioneering local-led innovation. You really are pioneers. Like initiatives like this being pulled together by DataForChange, BongoHive, and Ubuntu are how we bring policy to life. So thank you all, to the organizers, to everyone that's here, for giving your time. It really is valuable. The organizers providing space to talk about shared challenges and interests. You know, this is how we move together and how we do it quickly. We have this really cheesy saying within my team that I'm going to share, and that is, to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together. And that, you know, it is so true. You know, I'm saying a lot of these things over and over again to make a point, but we can't work in silos. We can't all try to solve the same problem separately. Coming together to overcome technical challenges, infrastructure challenges, to even just give voice to the systematic issues that you have as people working in this space, that is so valuable. Bringing all of your voices together really does make that stronger. And the very nearly last point I wanted to make is about us at FCDO as investors. We really do see the value of grassroots AI systems. We understand that if we want to be serious about overcoming the pain points of AI, that we have to be strategic. We can't just be running pilots. It's not about the West handing over models that we think might work. It's about supporting the building of multidisciplinary skills in African countries through locally led applied research. And that's research like the research that you are doing. Our vision is for today's AI research to become part of tomorrow's national strategies. And we want this to be inclusive and locally led. I'll put this in the chat when I finish talking, because I can't multitask, but we're actually really excited to be partnering with Moscone to drive this forward. They'll be bringing out some calls soon, and I encourage you all to look for that to see about opportunities and how we can support your work. And again, nearly finished. But just to also say that, you know, the work that you're doing to, you know, try and ensure that I think it was, you said 72 languages, which is 72 languages spoken across Zambia are represented in AI. You know, it could feel, you know, as someone who was a data scientist, it could feel at times that maybe what you do feels really niche, or that it's very small scale, and it might struggle to see how it fits into the global vision for AI. And I just want to say that I actually don't share that view that I've just said that you might have. The work that you are doing really is driving forward the global vision for AI for good. You are pioneers, and you are showing the world how it should be done. You are showing the world that AI can be inclusive, and we need examples like this to make sure that we don't continue to work in ways that could be not inclusive. And then I promise the last thing that I will say is kind of a bit of a call to action, is that, continue at the tables that you're at, the conversations that you're part of, to really advocate for, being inclusive, for including local languages. But I would also maybe just put this as a final statement, is that, local languages, are they just part of an answer? What are the next steps to ensure that no one is left behind? Do we feel that local languages are enough to be locally representative? Or what are the other things that might be needed to support this? How do we take it to that next level? And I leave that as a kind of an open question for you. I thank you for listening to me, and I think that we might have a few more minutes if anyone did have any questions that they wanted to ask.
First of all, thank you so much, Nikki, not only for sharing your personal experience, your view, and also the encouragement. Yes, despite the challenges that are there, we have a room of a very experienced and passionate set of people that are willing and open to explore the topic, to work on it, despite limited resources and the context that we often work in Zambia also includes power cuts on the highest points, 21 hours without electricity. How do you even think of creating large language models and digitizing local languages? So it was great to hear that encouragement from your side. And I believe, since we still have a few minutes, and I don't know, Nikki, if you'll be able to stay with us towards the end, let's maybe use the next 5 minutes really to answer some questions that you might have directly to Nikki while we have her here. Please use your hand. You can raise your hand and we will hear out your question. Also, you have given us a very concrete call to action. You've seen the link has been shared in the chat. Very helpful. And yeah, let's see if we have some questions for you directly. We have a lot of thank yous in the chat. Don't be shy, use the opportunity. Maybe while people boost up their confidence, I can start with one and just ask you what the FCDO is putting in the pipeline. You've mentioned that partnership with Masakana. I don't know them yet, I must say. So maybe you can share a bit of what the goal is and when this is starting.
So I'm kind of jumping a little bit ahead because we will be making quite a big public announcement about this, but they are a grassroots-led organisation supporting that locally led research, the building of skills through masters and PhDs. Do check out the website, have a bit of a look. They will be doing calls in terms of like funding, but it's one of the ways in which we see they currently work across 40 African languages, I think. So there's definitely a real opportunity there to expand that. And they're working, I think, across 4 or 5 countries in Africa. We also support something called the Lacuna Fund. I'll put another link into that as well, which is about creating opportunities to share data. I think that the opportunity for that as it evolves will be to set up maybe some local hubs across Africa in which people can come together and share data for machine learning, for AI models, and that will include local languages as well. So again, I would encourage you to look out for that and think about how you can share your data, which might enable other research to go forward.
Wonderful, Nikki. Thank you for sharing that. And well, I believe with the BongoHive AI Lab, we do have a good lab and proper infrastructure in place. So yeah, there's already something to build on and to start with what we have. it looks like there are no questions right now, which will then allow me to look at the next point that we have coming up.
Question from
we do have a question. Great.
We do have a hand raised. I don't know if they're permitted to just speak for a bit to ask the question. We have Mukelevai who's been raised for a bit. Mukelevai, just quickly, under 30 seconds, ask your question.
Yes, can you give me? Are you able to give me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, so my question to Dr. Nikki is, what's the best way for local developers, policymakers, and international experts to collaborate so that Zambia's needs are truly represented when it comes to building AI for common good? That's one question that I have for you.
Collaboration and coordination. And I think that my answer is going to be a little bit unfair because I'm going to say it's on all of you to think about how you coordinate and collaborate together to become a cohesive voice. The reality is that the international system can be quite fragmented. And so if we're hearing one thing over here and one thing over there, it's really hard to build that picture and to see the strength of the message. So I would say really lean into BongoHive and Ubuntu AI and the work that Data4Change are doing in Zambia. Really think about how you can work with these hubs and centers, how you can make sure that you are bringing policy experts as well as technical experts together in the same room to come up with a common need, a common voice, a common representation of Zambia, and then use that to advocate with organizations like FCDO, with your government, with the international system, the UN system. But I think if you can grassroots collaborate, I think that is really strong. And then also hopefully that helps you all as well in terms of like building up your networks, understanding how you get your work incorporated into government through working with policymakers, etc.
Great, thank you very much. That was an on-point question, and that was also let me check our chat. Yes, the questions are cleared, so we can hand it over. Now we'll be turning it around. We will be asking you questions in our group dialogue. So thank you, Nikki, once more. This was great. And now we have some questions posed, and experts on the call can raise their hands and speak up. But for moderation, I'm first handing over to Pendo, the founder of Ubuntu AI. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hannah. And I think we had a very, thank you, Dr. Nikki, for the keynote conversation and just sharing some of the work that's being done. That's very encouraging, I think, even for those that are innovating locally, building data sets, and even for us who are building and enabling the ecosystem. So now we're going to have a group dialogue, and how this will work, I think Hannah already defined what a dialogue is in her opening remarks. So I will just open up questions to the audience, and please just feel free to raise your hand or comment in the chat. We just want to have a conversation and get everyone's input on our next steps in ensuring that we have our Zambian languages represented and we're building in the right direction, and everyone is agreeable with with the different approaches, and we're not working in silos and duplicating effort. So the first question that we have, I will just jump the gun, just to get a sense of course, we are building these languages and we are focusing on getting local languages. AI is currently working well. We might argue that AI is currently working well with the Western language, which is English primarily. Why do we have to focus on our local languages, which are 72? So perhaps to the audience and everyone on this call, what are the potential commercial, community, and economic benefits that we see for language data sets, the local languages that is, and how do you envision these data sets to be used to create real tangible value and impact So just to get that sense, so that even as we are building and prioritizing this conversation, there is an attachment to real world impact, both from an economic perspective, our communities, which is very important because they are the owners of these languages, and also from a social and commercial view. Just feel free to raise your hand, and we will be, you can pause and share your insight on that. I actually expect more hands because I think at the end of the day, we're looking at the impact on the commercial side as well, and also on the community side. Otherwise, then this conversation is basically in vain. Great. I have a man for Michael. Please come to Mike.
Hello, can you get me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Okay. So for me, I feel like most of the time, our economic growth would be limited by things that are lost in translation. If we are able to communicate in our own language, I feel like we would understand each other pertaining to our culture and what we actually need from each other. So usually, like, we always have to translate things. Even our thoughts are in our local languages. Now, actually bringing them out into English would be a problem. Like, even this, what I'm saying right now, would be much easier in my own local language. So I feel implementing our local languages into AI would help us understand each other better, first of all, and it would help us understand the world and certain concepts better, if you get what I mean.
Yes, indeed. I think that's very valid communication, basically, and also there's a joke that goes around saying, do you think in your local language or do you think in English? So I get the last point and being able to translate our ideas better. So thank you for that. And we will just check if there are any other hands. Mukelewai, please come to mic.
You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I'll begin from the social perspective, or the social point of it. So from a social perspective, I think it promotes cultural representation and empowers communities to engage with technology on their own terms. So people in the communities in different cultures or traditions can actually use technology to their benefits. It brings about cultural inclusivity, so to speak, when we use technology for common good and integrate it with our local languages. Economically, I would say it unlocks opportunities in sectors like agriculture, health, education, and finance, especially by making information and services available to people who may not even speak English. So people that live in rural areas. So those will be my two takes on it, on the economy side of it, and also on the social side of it.
Thank you, Mkelewai, and I think that's also very important, especially in making services available. One question I've always asked myself is that even the traditional digital solutions that we have are not inclusive. They do not have Bemba options or any other local languages that we speak. So I think we do have a big gap there in promoting inclusivity with our local languages. So with that said, any other additional points with regards to some of the benefits that we see having local language corpus and local language models from the business side, from an economic side, and even just from an individual perspective? Why does this matter to us and why should we care? Okay, so I see no other hand, which would just drive me to the next question of how can we leapfrog the traditional methods. How can Zambia leapfrog traditional methods to rapidly collect and digitize high quality language data? I think as we may, for those who are already building and creating, innovating for the local, in local language, with local language data set. Okay, David, I will come to you just now. Or maybe you go, since we're still on the previous question, before I can pose the next question. Please come to Mike. David, you can come to Mike. Okay, David, I will proceed and maybe you can let us know when you're ready to unmute. So my question was, how can we leapfrog collection of these high quality data sets, which becomes more resourceful in terms of training and also helps us be more resourceful, because if we have low quality data, meaning you spend so much time with the data cleaning and which can be quite resource demanding. So from those who I think we already heard from Daniel Kasonde, we heard from Dr. Nen, and also we also heard from Kaletso. I can't pronounce her first name well yet. So I just wanted to get a sense from those who are already building, how do you envision us leapfrogging? Because already I think as a country, we might, if we benchmark against other countries, we're lagging behind, but we need to leapfrog to move in the same direction. So what are some of the ways in which you might, what are some of the ways you think we need to do or put in place to leapfrog? Thank you, Muyanja, for posting the question. So I will intentionally ask the three speakers that we had, then we'll go into everyone else. So Daniel, would you please share some insights on how you think we can leapfrog to get to high quality language data sets that are usable across the AI ecosystem?
Okay. So in my opinion, I think the first and important thing that will need to happen is those who are ahead will need to make a concise decision whether they are willing to share their work or not. On my end, I think the best that will need to be done is to translate most of the important benchmarks that are already available. There are quite a number of data sets on Hugging Face. There are quite a number of data sets on GitHub. I've also seen UNZA. UNZA has done some incredible work under the School of Computer Science. There's a repo called Voice of Zambezi. That such initiatives, we need more initiatives like that for us to move forward, in my opinion.
Thank you, Daniel. I will ask Tario, perhaps if she's still on the call, and what her take is. Okay, I can see Tario. Dr. Victor, any addition to what I think what Daniel has mentioned is collaboration amongst the players?
Thank you very much. So in my opinion, I think we need to invest in translators because at the end of the day, if we want to end up with high quality data sets, it's very important that we engage people who speak the language. Because if you look at the current scenario, most of the languages that our local languages, there's an element of code switching, especially for people who reside in urban areas. So slowly they are losing their original vocabulary. So I think we need to invest in the local speakers of the languages in translation tasks. That's the only way we can end up with high quality data sets. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for sharing those insights. And I think, like you've mentioned, involving the local communities, the owners of the language where they're originating from will be very important, because the language is being lost in translation as it gets into the urban areas. So thank you for those contributions. And then finally, one more is what does collaboration look like? And are we collaborating enough? What Dr. Nikki mentioned was we need to move further together. So alone we can only go so far, but to move further we need to go together. I hope I said that right. So from everyone who's joined in the audience, and this is just open dialogue conversation, this is the last question, is are we collaborating enough? Are we working in silos such that we are not moving further? And what does collaboration look like? Is there a willingness from everyone to come together, share this information, and move further in this space? Yes, David.
Thank you very much. I do think, like, for the first question, one of the things that I was thinking about and that came to mind was that I've normally worked in rural communities, and if you look at the statistics and census, half of the population of Zambia lives within the rural community. So first of all, that tells us quite a lot. It means that most of them are speaking these local languages. Most of them are verbally articulating it, and they are going about their days. So do I think that there's a huge possibility of economic gain if these people are empowered with languages and ways that they can translate among themselves? I 100% do think that. Another thing is that I really think that there needs to be a certain understanding of a human-centered approach to the design process of this, in that we go in there and try to understand how exactly these AI models would work also for them. Because I think that as much as we really think about the urban areas to translate this language or the rural areas, I think sometimes trying to understand them and their points of view also would really, really help. I really, really think that most of the times these people verbally process this information. I remember that there was a study that was done by UNICEF, and it was showing that people using local language can barely write their sentences, their names, and I think the study showed that it was a percentage of only 20% of people could actually write in local languages. And so that was a very huge awakening call, is that if we're then going to build AI models for local languages, are we taking upon the privilege, or are we taking upon the understanding that they're only going to use these AI models via writing, or would they be the integration of these things? So I do think that having a localized and human-centered approach would be very, very great to enable the dialogue to continue and people to collaborate better to understand where the need is and how we can meet a pain point for an existing customer within the rural communities. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for sharing that. I think very valuable information. I saw we had another hand. Let me just check. Okay, yes, Mukelebai, please go ahead.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes, audible.
Yes, so I wanted to begin with the earlier question with regards to leapfrogging. I think it is something that we should actually look into, because I believe when we leapfrog all these resource-heavy methods that were used, or the traditional ways of collecting this information or data sets, we are actually going to actualize a lot of things. So with regards to, say, agriculture, I think one way would be farmers reporting yields or pest issues via SMS or voice notes on WhatsApp or in calls using the local languages. And then we have a standardized or centralized database where we collect all those, all their reports, all their on the reports on yields, the reports on pest controls, and all that. Also in health, we could ask patients to describe the symptoms, but in their local languages per se. Have a centralized database again, and then store all that, and then we can form data sets from that. The other issue would be to do with collaboration. In Zambia, I think we are making great progress, but I believe we are not yet collaborating enough. We often work in silos, tech hubs, universities, governments, and private sector, instead of pooling resources and developers per se together and then come up with these ideas and then see which way really can work for literally all the ideas that we have. I believe if we were to assemble a group of developers, assemble these universities, assemble these tech hubs into one room, discuss these things, and then come up with solutions, we can actually do better. So collaborations, we are doing collaborations, but they're not enough.
Thank you, Mkelebai. I think that's a very important, I think collaboration is very important, but we really need to up how we collaborate, and it also has to be very strategic to lead us to where we want to get to. So thank you so much. I saw another hand. I think we have a few minutes. Please, Muyanje, let me, or Yasin, ping me once once the time is running out. I saw another hand from Boaz. Please come to mic.
Raise your hand from Lamek.
Good afternoon. Thanks for picking my hand. I was disconnected a little bit at the beginning, but I'm happy to reconnect again. So I'll just to thank all the friends around the country who are coming up with these initiatives, especially developing AI models.
I think we have lost Lamek. Lamek, once you get reconnected,
it's a great thing to comment on the aspect of collaboration. Hello? Yeah, I wanted to comment on...
We sort of lost you. Okay, please go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm traveling, so I really wanted to attend, but let me just make a comment on collaboration. I think all the different experts need to put in mind that translation experts are at the heart of developing AI language models that will really have a greater impact. One could be a software developer or software engineer, but translation is an art. And if we can also collaborate with translation experts, get to know what they know about translation techniques and use of language, as you know, it evolves over time. That way we can come up with AI models that will really be useful, not just translated in language that people maybe don't understand, but a language that will really impact. So I just wanted to comment on the need to collaborate with translation experts with proven experience in order to work together. Otherwise, thank you so much for organizing this. I've been looking forward to something like this as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lamek. And yes, indeed, translation experts are those language experts who will allow translation experts to be very key to getting to the next level of this conversation on AI for our local languages. So in a minute, is there anyone else who's got a pressing or who want to comment based on the questions and the conversations that we have before I call it a close and move to the next segment? Boaz, yes, please. Boaz, if this is an odd hand, you can please come to mic.
Okay,
can you get me?
Boaz? Yeah, we can get you now.
Yes. My question was beyond data and computing. Which policies or government changes would accelerate the inclusiveness of AI for Zambian languages?
Very good
I had
question.
brought up this question in the chat, and I think it got lost.
Okay, so if I got your question right, is which policies in Zambia would help accelerate AI inclusion of local languages in AI?
Yes, that was my question.
Okay, maybe before I pick it up, is there anyone on the call who would be close to the policies and would want to comment on this particular question? Can't see all the hands, so please just come to mic if your hand is raised.
Okay, so am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, so I think last year or early this year, there was a strategy that was developed. I don't know if developed or it was a deliberate policy by the Ministry of Technology and Science. The National AI Strategy, I think, is what they called it, or National AI Policy or something. But it was deemed in that way. This strategy was meant or aimed to harness AI for growth in rural sectors, to use AI, also improve the public services and job creation. It emphasized the ethics of AI themselves, the risks that are involved in AI, but also to mitigate the risks. So this policy was deliberately enacted or deliberately brought forward by the Ministry of Science and Technology to that effect, to help out with the risks that are involved and to also bring in the issues to do with data privacy and the establishment of an emerging technology center of excellence. That was something. That was one policy that I remember that was brought forward by the Ministry of Science and Technology. I stand to be corrected. I haven't seen that a lot recently, but I stand to be corrected.
Okay, thank you, Mukelebai, for that contribution. And yes, we do now have a national AI strategy, which was developed before 2024 to 2026. It was released early this year. And it does have a roadmap of the global AI implementation for Zambia. By global, I mean Zambia, and also segments of inclusive AI. And perhaps, I think, even as this is a living document, these are some of the issues that we need to also present to the ministry as stakeholders on what we want to see in the strategy and what we want to see from the implementation side. Because I think for inclusion, what's mostly taken into account is gender from a diversity perspective. But I think inclusion spans beyond just gender. It's also about language, especially when it comes to AI. So I think just to wind up, conclude this session, I think from a policy perspective, boards, I think just as Mukelebai has said, we do actually need to have a more comprehensive inclusion in the strategy of what inclusion actually looks like, even from a language and culture preservation, so that as we are having these conversations and building, it's not only at the ecosystem and grassroots level, but also from a national strategic level. This is considered as at utmost importance due to its impact. And an additional thing is that when it comes to language, unfortunately, we are the ones who have to pioneer for our own languages. The countries like South Africa, Kenya, of course, they would support from their Masakani initiatives. I think we have the Googles who are building their large language models in English, but priority won't be our Zambian languages, which are 72. So it has to be us to share and pioneer. And finally, I think what has come out strongly is collaboration. Together we can go further. So I think we need to continue having these conversations, but also building and implementing. This shouldn't just end in conversation. So those who are on this call, you can also just exchange we can exchange contacts so that we have everyone who's working in this space can connect and move further together. Thank you. I'll hand over back to Hannah as the moderator, as the one who's chairing this event, so that we can move to the next segment. Thank you.
Thank you, Pendo. Truly appreciate it. And just wow, I learned a lot today, and I don't know even where to start my conclusion. Maybe with the biggest takeaways for me and the 5 takeaways that I gained from the whole conversation, from Nikki's keynote speech, from the amazing and important work that all of our case studies that Daniel, that Victor, and Tarira are doing. Please, again, keep it up. We need people like you and many more in the chat. I see many of you are active in the space. And it doesn't matter from which academic field we're coming, because to make it work in an integrative and accessible manner, we need all of us. And what I've seen today is really that now we have the people that want to be on the table or that want to be in the room here. Well, let's add the ones that we need to move forward. And as such, BongoHive, Ubuntu AI, and Data4Change, the Paris 21 Foundation, we are well connected to pull the relevant people from the room, whether they are big donors in the UK. We will be there to guide and facilitate. However, we want this also to be a collaborative effort. So let us digest and find the best way to collaborate without owning the discourse. And let me go to my top 5 of what we've learned today. Then I will leave maybe the last few minutes for final questions, and also invite Mapalo and Pendo for last responses to the questions, what's next, but we'll complement it together. Okay, number 1, what we're seeing on the ground. So we've seen that voice note interactions in local languages are still prone to hallucinations. That's what Tarira has shared, mainly because we lack voice data trained on our accents and non-verbal cues. People always laugh at me when I start speaking Nyanja or Bemba, so I believe that's exactly that verbal cue that I might still be missing. So voice data collection would be one possible way forward. Teams need compute power and resources to fine-tune models responsibly. Number 2, where AI in local languages could help most. We've seen that race in the poll between education, literacy, translation, student access, and SME and business, customer service, market access, business inclusion. Those were the top 2, even though the examples that we saw today are highly in the health space, and I also am more leaning towards the health space after we've seen Victor present. Top challenges to fix, repeated across sectors. That's point number 3. Data, 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 and combat siloing. Infrastructure, skill gaps, coordination falls under this too. And yeah, we have already infrastructure to build on. We have the AI lab at BongoHive. There's the Zambia Evidence Lab. So we do have those lab structures. I know Cavendish University is also building one. So why not work together? Why not have physical events or workshops to break down those silos? Number 4, a donor lens and a Northern Star. So those links to the FCDO insights. Better data means better decisions. Nikki has clearly pointed that out, and that's a global priority, especially when we look at challenges that all of us face, such as climate change. So there is even interest from the big donors to support local AI. It's a real opportunity now. Yeah, prioritizing open, high-quality data sets in local languages, even from the UK perspective, avoiding silos. Again, locally led collaborative work beats isolated pilots. And we have actually concrete pathways. We have the Lacuna Fund also, and I just checked on their website. They have open data sets on health, agriculture, and languages. So I think we're just one step closer to finding a concrete pipeline. Now, last but not least, and I'll be inviting Mapalo and Pendo after this to conclude the call to action. Let's contribute data responsibly. We have learned where the gaps are, and let's work together and break down silos. Skill development is a big issue, creating an opportunity roadmap and partnering locally. First of all, a big thank you. All of us have provided a lot of information through the chat, through the presentations, through both the pre-event survey and now in the Mentimeter. We will use all of that to create a report. I suggest that the report already has a roadmap or some recommendations that we can build on. I mentioned already that we don't want to own this topic, but we want to collaborate on it and invite you to comment. So you have number one, action, report will be out. We could have a validation workshop together with all of you and bring other dedicated players to the table. And you have posted all your challenges on this wall in the Mentimeter. By the way, we will upload the Mentimeter also on our socials. Why not use those challenges and turn them into opportunities, creating a hackathon this year? So follow us on our the BongoHive, Ubuntu AI, DataForChange, the Paris 21 Foundation. We are all on LinkedIn, and you might be able to now see a slide with our socials. Follow us and stay up to date so you have a voice and we want it to be heard. Also our LinkedIns, I'm also on LinkedIn, reach out. And Pendo and Mapalo, first of all, thank you. It's always great to work with you. What am I missing in terms of a call to action? Maybe you have something that came out of today that you are calling us out to act upon?
For starters, thanks a lot, Hannah. For starters, everyone on the call, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your contributions. Make sure that you follow the partners on this call. BongoHive, you can follow us on our socials on LinkedIn. Same for Ubuntu, for DataForChange. Reason being that in the next couple of months and weeks, you'll obviously be seeing more information that will be relevant to this interest. I think Hannah has already alluded to this. We're also hoping that one of the outcomes from this conversation that we've had today is that we'll be able to develop a challenge statement and run an upcoming future hackathon where we would love people like yourselves to get involved. Perhaps you partner with people on this call to be able to implement, execute, building actual solutions. And some of you were commenting very amazing comments in the chat box. We would love to see how this translates into actionable results. And so those are the stuff that we want to facilitate, but also look forward to the report on the ecosystem mapping. And that's why it's going to be important for you to ensure that you're following us across different social media platforms so that you don't miss out on these upcoming updates. But thank you once again for being part of this process and excited to see what comes out of this.
Thank you, Mapalo. I think I will perhaps hand the mic to Yasin, who is one of the co-founders of Ubuntu AI, for the call to action and also the concluding remarks.
Okay, no, thanks very much, Pendo, and thanks everybody for joining. Yeah, so building on what has already been said, obviously, if you've been following what's been happening, we've seen how our friends in South Africa, in Kenya, in Nigeria have been able to come up with exciting innovations around language. But Zambia, we seem to be lagging behind because there's nothing that we can point to that we've done as a community. Some of us on this call are coming from the deep learning and that which was just happening last week, and we just saw amazing work that is being done across the continent. They would want to also showcase what's happening in Zambia, but then obviously there has to be that first step, and the first step is what we're currently doing now. So it's not just an academic exercise, but it's an exercise to bring everybody together
in terms of like us working together so that then our work can begin being recognized. So if we work in silos, yes, we could make efforts, but then the times when we just feel frustrated, especially some of the issues that we highlighted here, issues with funding and all those kind of things. So you can get to a certain point and then somebody can pick that and then obviously move with what you have done. So we're looking at getting to a point where the work that has been done is kind of like open source and there's some sort of licensing that is there. So there's obviously organizations that are doing the licensing. So if we can collect whatever we've done into a single data set, and then we put it out there, and obviously whoever wants to make use of data can obviously make reference to us that, okay, this work was done by these people, but then the building on top of that would want to get to that point and then build from there. So again, there will be more communication around what will be the next stages coming through. So just make sure that you follow you follow our social media posts for more updates. And yeah, we hope this is not the last time we're meeting, but obviously the first step towards more greater things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yasin. That gives us the last 5 minutes for questions, everyone. Some last questions, comments, things that you carry on your heart. Do we have some hands? Yes, David, go for it.
I would just like to ask just one last question, which is just around some of the AI models that have already been created and what's going on in the AI space. I would just like to ask about some of the guardrails that are being put in place, especially knowing that we're seeing an increased amount of kids being exposed to these AI models, and some of the questions and things that they might have with these AI models might end up being quite suspicious, especially when not monitored properly. I think we've started to see a lot of companies being sued because of not having guardrails in place. I'd just like to know, as we're building an ecosystem of having an abundance amount of AI systems in Zambia, how exactly would some of the players in the game manage to put in some guardrails, or what facilities are being put in place for the guardrails to be there?
Okay, guardrails, protection, data security, and do we have anyone who feels comfortable to answer this question among our roles or among the community? I think there's a hand up. Mokilabai, I hope I'm saying it correctly. Is that an answer or a question?
It's an answer. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
Yes. So the guardrails, I can only speak for myself. I don't know what my fellow developers have put into considerations whenever they're creating these systems or AI models. But one most important thing that's cardinal, especially in building these systems, for me personally, is the encryption of data privacy. This has to do with when people register for these models, register for these systems, and when they're signing up, are their passwords protected? Where is the information going? So those are the guardrails that I have put into considerations, or the guardrails per se. And the other thing is with the bias and a fairness check, right? So testing the outputs or of these models, right? Are these outputs are biased? Are they based on sex? Are they based on tribe? Are these outputs bringing into perspective tribalism, sexism, and all that? So those are the major or fundamental guardrails that have been put in place when creating these systems or coming up with these models. I submit.
Thank you very much for that note. Not on guardrails for sexism or stereotyping, racism in the replies, but for guardrails on mis and disinformation. I've shared also a link to a Swiss startup called InLook AI that uses trusted statistical data only in their models. Check it out. Daniel, your hand is still up. Is that an old hand? Seems to be, because oh no, there we go. Yes, you have 1 minute. We're closing off. Thank you.
Yes, so all I wanted to say is that I feel like, in my opinion, adding authentication layers doesn't really do much, because the outputs from the models are coming from the system itself. So before pushing these models to the public, I think it's important to do more testing, and it's also important to subject the models to reinforcement learning from human feedback, so that they align with what can I say? They align with the norms or culture of the people, especially given the fact that the AI that we're wanting to implement is in our local languages. So it's important that we align the feedback based on humans. That's my personal opinion.
Thank you, Daniel, for sharing that. And with that said, on point, it's 5. I hope that is the last hand. There is also an old one. Yes. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for participating, for sharing. You are our resource. You are our data to map this ecosystem. So we could not be more grateful. Stay tuned, as we've heard, and also big, big hands to Ubuntu AI, to BongoHive for all the great hours of work, to my colleague Belen. Great work, and I'm looking forward to bring everyone to the table and to make sure soon, but very soon, we will be giving health screenings to local communities in Bemba, selling cows in Tonga, and we'll make it easy for everyone. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.